watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 104, Viewer Question, Combo Boxes. Would you like fries with that? Okay, before we get into the show, just a couple slides on just additional resources. My videos are at NotesIn9.com. I currently have an index at index.notes9.com, which is kind of lame, but I'm actually making some progress on improving it. And I do cheat sheets at cheatsheet.notes9.com. So there's some good information there to hopefully get you started. Stuff that I don't do is xpages.info is our kind of like our homepage. There's a ton of material on openntf.org. If you want to keep up with a lot of the bloggers or so, there's a development section on Collaboration Today based on Xpages developers for the most part, I think. Stack Overflow, which we're going to talk about a little more in the show, a little more in depth, has over 1,000 questions asked and answered, and some of them are pretty quickly answered, quite honestly. And then there is also a pretty active Xpages forum. I don't really like the link, so just Google for that. That's what I always do to get there. So today's show is a question from a guy named Ursus, who I met at Lotusphere. And he asked this question on the Xpages forum. He's having a problem with combo boxes and DB lookups and stuff like that. And before I go in, it is really rare for me to be able to answer any kind of viewer question in depth. Half the time, I don't know the answer. I get a lot of people emailing me, and I always try to respond. So, I mean, don't feel free to email me if you want. That's fine. But it's very rare that I can answer. A lot of the questions I just don't know the answer. They're over my head. And the ones that I can answer, if I can at least point you in the right direction, I will. But if not, then I just send you over to Stack Overflow in the Xpages forum. This is a case where one he caught me when I really needed a mental break from some mobile stuff I've been working on, and I kind of quickly gathered early on that I can touch on a topic that I've been wanting to do on the show anyway. So that's really what happened there. So you can always take your shot and ask me a question. I'm happy to always try to help. I'll always try to answer and at least point you in a direction if I can. But I cannot answer often very technically detailed questions like tech support. That's what the forum and Stack Overflow is. So speaking of Stack Overflow, today there is a question asked on Stack Overflow by a developer named Kathy Brown, and she was having a problem with the extension library picker. And she asked this question, and she got an answer by another developer named Paul Withers. And coincidentally, I've spoken with both of these people at Lotusphere. But this is not a setup or anything like that. This is just the way it worked. But what's really interesting here that I wanted to highlight this is, if you look here, it says she asked this question 9 minutes ago, and Paul answered it 3 minutes ago. That means she got an answer in 6 minutes. Okay, this is why it's a much better resource than emailing me or some of the other guys directly. Just go to Stack Overflow. I've said it before. People will jump over their grandmothers to get the points in answering these questions. They like this. So the forum is a good place too, especially if it's more esoteric question or so, but don't be afraid to sign up for Stack Overflow. You can also ask questions on Dojo, on CSS, on JavaScript, on HTML, all these other things that are inside the Xpages world. So it's a great resource that if you're not taking advantage of it and answering questions and reading what other people have asked, you're hurting yourself, quite honestly. So while we're here, though, let's talk about Kathy. Okay, who is Kathy? Well, Kathy Brown, she's a great developer. She's a consultant for PSC, and they've got a real dream team over there with Marky Roden and Brad and Will Howe and a couple other guys that just is escaping my name at the moment, Troy and Barrickman, Andrew, etc. And she's an IBM champion this year. She's a hugely popular speaker. She's a long-term blogger at runningnotes.net. Speaking of running, I don't think she jogs every day, but I'm sure she still runs more in a week than I drive my car. And she was my partner for the Lotusphere 2013 show and tell. And so that was a lot of fun. And we did Xpages No Experience Needed. We got some really nice reviews, and people had some nice things to say. But one of the things she has said more than once is she's promised for quite a while to contribute to NotesIn9. Yet my queue for her is empty. So if you know her or talk to her or see her, ask her when she's going to do that. Because I do believe she's having a little blogging competition with some of the PSC guys who have contributed to NotesIn9, Marky and Brad. Thank you very much. So well, we're trying to get her on, so maybe she'll see this video someday, and the moment after she renders me to a bloody pulp, she will then give me a video that someone will have to publish in my place. So don't kill me, Kathy, but you did promise. So, all right, anyway, let's go on to the demo of the show, where what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a demo database that Ursus sent me, and I'm going to show you how he coded it. I'm going to show you how to fix the simplest fix to fix his actual problem, and then I'm going to talk about how maybe it could have been done a little better or a little performant. I know coding's an art, and I am certainly no expert, even though I play one on TV. But I think there were some improvements that could probably be made humbly. I would suggest that. So with that being said, let's go to the demo. Okay, so here's the database that Ursus sent me. And if we look at the situation here, it's a very common design pattern. You got two linked combo boxes, right? And they pull up data. Change things around, and here's the problem. So you're changing things around, all's good and hunky-dory, and then you hit blank and oop, this is still here. So that's not desired behavior. So let's look at how this app is built, how we fix it, and how we hopefully improve the app, humbly speaking. Not that I'm a true expert, but I think at least I have a handle on what's going on here. So if we look at this ComboBox 1, and I'm going to use that term because I have no idea what these words mean. Very simply, we're going to just go through everything. So this is not bound to anything. He's getting values by creating a blank array to get that blank space, and then he's doing an @db lookup with an @unique, and he's concatenating the two arrays to get a space. Okay, so that's not typically how I would do it. I would use like an @text, but that way works. And then down here, same thing. It's not bound to anything. And if we look at the values, now here is something more like I would do, though I've never actually done this. I always do @text, but this actually I like better. He's returning a blank, so that's his blank placeholder. And then he's got this code here, which is basically doing the concatenation, getting a blank array, doing another DB lookup, and concatenating it. But what's he got going on up here? This is kind of interesting. He's doing some get components. But it's odd, and I'm not sure why he would do this. He's doing a get component first, and then checking that for null. But this is basic, as far as I understand, the control on the X page. So it's probably always going to be there. I've never actually I don't think I've ever actually just gotten the component to run properties on it. I always do get value. You know, I just do this whole thing at once. Not that there aren't other things in here. I'm sure, but I just haven't had the need to do much of that yet. So that just seems a little odd to me, but okay. He's taken 2 steps to do that, but that doesn't hurt anything. And he's good to go there. And then if we look at these guys here, so we've got 2 DB lookups so far for combo boxes, which is what you would expect. So if we look at how he gets the value into the first field, is pretty much the exact same thing. He basically takes the first part of this to get combo box 1 using the get component, broke it up into 2 positions, and then he gets the box or the component for combo box 2 and gets the value, and then he concatenates it. So the view has 2 fields concatenated by this number sign. That's kind of this part's fairly standard in a way for your key, and then he does a DB lookup here for that to get to the, I guess this is the 3rd column of the view if it's based by 0. So this is the 3rd DB lookup on this page. And if we look at these guys here, it's the exact same code. So we're up to 4 DB lookups to get to another column. And then finally 5 DB lookups, all pretty much doing the exact same thing. So this is the next page with 5 DB lookups. Again, I'm not a true expert, but I don't think this is a best practice. I know it's not a best practice in the Notes client world to just have those many DB lookups going on. I mean that is eventually gonna get you, especially if you ever break 64K, which I believe he mentioned in the X Pages forum could happen. So I don't think this is going to scale very well. So what are we going to do about it? How are we going to fix it? Well, the first thing is to fix his actual problem. All we have to do is look at this first guy here and the events and on change, and I can see what he's doing is he's doing a partial update of this field, this CB, whatever that word is, the standort. So the reason why these other fields are not clearing is because he's not refreshing them, right? So if we change this to full update and run this, okay, we got these values. Now if we go back to this, okay, now we've updated our page. These will re-render from the server. So that is, in a nutshell, the fix to his problem, his actual problem. Now, a full update is kind of brutal sometimes, so you can always do a partial update. I have added this My Panel ID, so if I click on this most outer panel, if I can get to it, it has the name My Panel. So we could certainly do a partial refresh of that and have this work. But again, we've still got 5 dB lookups on here, and 5 at uniques, and that we can do better than that, right? So let's look and see how we might be able to improve this. And again, this is a very subjective stuff when you're looking at other people's code. So if I look at this first combo box, first thing I've done is I bound this to view scope so I can get to the value. And I bound this second guy to view scope. So I've got a VS Combo 1, VS Combo 2. That's just how I work. I think it's easier. I like scope variables. They're here for your use. It's like going to war with a hand grenade. You have it. You might as well use all the tools that you're given. Okay, so values here for the first one. I got rid of that concatenating array business because that just I don't like that. So I'm using that text. Call me crazy. And then I left the original code here. Basically, all I need is this at unique dB column into the view or so. So this still has a 64K limit, so I didn't really improve that anywhere. The second combo box, same deal. As I said, it's bound to the view scope, and we've got that blank value in again. But in this case here is, instead of going through all this rigmarole to get the value of combo box 1, I'm just going to get the value of combo box 1 by accessing it through the view scope. So that saves me at least this amount of code. And then I created a function called getCombo2 to pass this value into it. So all my work is going to be done in a function in case I want to reuse it or something later. So how does the function work? Well, let's look at that. Oops. If I can find it. Okay, so what we got going on is we're going to pass this key into get my values. There's a little console statement here. And then the database is global. So that's already there for you. I create a view and I get a view in the database. And then I get a document using get document by key. And then here's really one of the things I've been wanting to get on the show for a little while is I'm going to create an object. And this object is going to allow me to pass multiple values back from one code loop. Okay, so this probably isn't that necessary. I had a problem originally, which was something else. But I'm going to pre-assign the values here. So these properties here is going to be value 1, value 2, value 3, and I'm going to just pre-assign them to string. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say is if doc is null, then I'm going to just return these blank values. And then if it's not null, then, oops, this is not needed. So we've already done that. Then I'm going to basically do get item value by string this field and put in the value 1, and then this field value 2, and this field value 3, and then I'm going to return that object with these values in it, right? So that's fairly easy to do. I've been doing this a lot with different things to get multiple values back rather than having to do, whether it's DB lookups or get by key or so, rather than having to do that kind of lookup multiple times. Okay, so if we look at this, if we go back in here, so after we do call this get my values, that information goes back into the my object, and then whether it's blank or there's values in there, I'm putting them right into view scope variables. So my object value 1, 2, and 3 goes into view scope value 1, 2, and 3. And if we look here again, that's what these guys are. View scope value 1, 2, and 3. And if we look at this, it does work. Okay, but notice there's a problem. So my value 1 does not look like his value 1. And trust me, because this has happened to me at the day job, people care about stuff like that. I really don't know that they're all the ins and outs of this. It's because it came from the Notes client, and mine versus Notes rich text, or not rich text, but Notes text. I think I don't know, but we have to fix it. So how do we fix that? Well, the easiest way to do it that I know of, and if there's a better way, please let me know, is to go to source and just do this. Just put these pre-tags in for pre-formatted text. Oops. And now if we look at this, and we do this guy because it has some text, so now mine looks the same as his. Okay, so I think I covered everything I wanted to cover there. That gets me through, I think, the reasoning for my changes. So I don't have all these DB lookups. I'm doing one lookup to get 3 values at once. I used a function and an object inside that function to bring it back. And two things I forgot to show you is one thing. Don't forget when you're doing lookups and stuff like that, you can take advantage of some different things here. For instance, this lookup here, these values, which is his original lookup here, is I change this to compute on page load, because that's not going to really change as the page gets affected. It's only on load that we need to look this list into, right? So by default it's dynamic, so it'll do that DB lookup every time. But if you're working with it inside the page or so, well, this DB lookup is fairly static, right? So we can get away with compute on page load. There's also techniques, which I'm not going to get into today, on caching this, so you can take this lookup information, put it into like a scope variable, like application scope for multiple users, and get some better performance this way. But why does all this stuff matter for things like that? Is you have to remember, and I'm going to fire up Designer here. If I can find my console. Okay, so now if I'm going to put this away, and let's just do this business. Open the browser, and let's bring Designer back a little bit. Okay, so you can see it's reporting null, which is really not causing me a major problem, so that's just the value of it. But so the get combo 2 is trying to run, and again, I can probably clean this up better, but here it is, combo 1, and then here's the combo 2 is showing the key. Again, I might have screwed that up, but what I want to show you is, see how combo 2 is running multiple times in a row, right? So I click it once, and it's running multiple times and stuff like that. Again, this is probably not be the best example, but the fact is it's running multiple times in a row or so, and I believe that is a case of the JSF life cycle. Okay, so you've got all these different phases. You got I forget 6 or 7 phases of the JSF life cycle. So it is very feasible that this lookup for this guy here, or even any of these, could be actually running twice in one call. Okay, because it's different phases of the JSF life cycle. And I don't really fully understand, so I'm not going to get into it. But you at least need to start being aware of that. That does take place, so sometimes it is good to put out print statements or so and look at your console and do it that way. So, okay, that's what I have to show you there. And there's the demo. I hope that all made sense. And again, the main reason I wanted to do this show, especially, was to talk about the multiple using that object to return multiple values. I don't think I had that on the show yet. And if you have any questions for me, I will certainly try to answer or point you in the right direction, which could be Stack Overflow or X Pages Forum. But here's my information, and I thank you for your time.